Hello, everybody. Aloha, beautiful people, and welcome. This is Magdalena in another episode of a Touchful Podcast. And I am very excited for this one for two reasons. The first one is because I will be talking about a topic that I am super duper passionate about, and I sometimes joke, it's kind of half joking, half true, that I am a specialist in this topic. And the second reason why I'm excited is because this episode is a little bit of an experiment. I mean, the whole podcast actually is an experiment, and I'm testing what works for me and what doesn't, and how I like to record this podcast. So, usually, I need to have a lot of time, I need to prepare my space, I need to take time to sit and this and that. But today, I'm not doing that. I just took a couple of notes, I tested my microphone to know that it's recording properly, and I just push play and I'm gonna record it. And I have 1 hour until my client comes for a massage. So I also have a time limit. And it feels exciting. It feels new. It feels like maybe I don't need all that preparation. I can just sit and talk to you, especially about something that I am so passionate about and it just puts me on fire. So I think I'm going to be on fire today. We will see. And we will see if this experiment even works. So when I pressed this button, I was absolutely sure what I want to talk about. I have it clear in my head. But what I'm not sure about is what the title of this episode will be. So what will be the correct words to describe what I want to talk about? Because I don't want this to be off-putting or scary or unclear what I want to talk about. So at this moment, I feel like I will stick with the title How to Hold Space for Yourself and Others. But also, I'm thinking that this could be put in the words of how to be with yourself and others, how to truthfully, honestly be present with yourself and others, or how to show radical compassion for yourself and others. All this to me is a little bit about the same thing, and the the problem that I have with the phrase holding space and how to hold space with for yourself and others is that I have a feeling that this phrase is sometimes a little bit wishy-washy, and some people might really not understand what it means. Hold space, like what do you mean? Like what kind of woo thing is that? And I hope that if you are this kind of person and you pressed play to listen to this episode, then still you will stay with me, because I will start with explaining what it means to me in really simple terms, in really simple words, to hold space. I think this is the title that I'm going to stick with for this episode. How to hold space for yourself and others, or how to be with people, how to radically, honestly be with people in compassion, in vulnerability, and in open heart. And by saying all this, I feel that I already started to explain a little bit of what holding space means to me. But I want to give you a definition so we can be sure that we are all on the same page, that when I use the phrase holding space, that you know what exactly I mean, because you might even be familiar with this phrase, but maybe for you it means something else that it means for me. So let's start with the definition. So later, when I will be giving you examples, when I will be telling you what to do and what not to do when you want to hold space for yourself and others, then you will know what I mean by space holding. So to me, in my world, to hold space for somebody, let's start with somebody. I will be also talking about holding space for yourself. But let's start with others. So to hold space for others, to be a space holder, it means that I am physically, mentally, and emotionally present for other person. Whether it's my friend, whether it's my client, my massage client, whether it's my massage student, or even a stranger on the street. It starts with me being physically, mentally, and emotionally available and present for this person. And the second thing that I feel needs to happen when we talk about holding space is to stay judgment free, or to do your best to be judgment free. Because it is not always possible. Sometimes what I need to do is to catch myself and realize that, okay, I am judging right now. I want to step out of this place of judgment and do my best to stay judgment free, to be able to hold space for this person and be for this person, instead of being with my own thoughts about judging this person's behavior or this person's character or this person's choices or whatever. The third thing, when you hold space for others, which I feel is important, is that you take your focus off yourself and put it on the other person. So sometimes we use this phrase like, I am here for you. And I feel that by saying that, this is exactly what we mean, that I take my focus off myself and I put it on you. I am here for you. Right now, in this moment, in next 5 minutes or 1 hour or whatever frame of time, you are the center of my focus. You are important for me. And it doesn't mean that I'm going to do it at my own cost. But it means to me that while staying present with myself and while checking with myself how I feel, I want to put my focus, all my energy, all my intention, all my attention to you. There's this beautiful saying that your energy flows where your attention goes. And I feel that space holding is about that. If I put my attention on you, and if I do it with open heart, and I do it from the space of non-judgment, then the energy flows there, and it's the energy of healing. Because essentially, holding space for somebody, being present for somebody without judgment and without all kinds of little things that I will be talking about in a moment, this is a very healing experience, and I will be giving you some examples in a moment. And finally, I feel that holding space for somebody means creating environment that makes somebody feel safe to be vulnerable, to open up, to be soft, to show the soft belly, and to be truly seen and to be truly witnessed. So I feel that essentially holding space for somebody in my world, it means giving this person a feeling that I see you, I hear you, I respect you, I feel you, I am here for you. And when I put it in these words, you probably, hopefully, start to have some maybe memories coming to you about these situations when you felt held, when you felt that somebody held space for you, that somebody gave you this feeling that you are important right now, your story is important, your emotions are important, that you are seen and you are truly witnessed the way you are, and you don't need to change the way you are. And this is deeply, deeply, deeply healing. And I even feel that holding space is actually one of the key healing aspects in massage. Because, by the way, hello, if you are here for the first time, I am a massage therapist and a massage teacher. I teach Hawaiian healing called Lomi Lomi. And this is why I kind of like joked at the beginning that it's like half joke, half truth, that I am a specialist in holding space, because this is something what I do for money. I hold space for people. When I massage them, when people come to me, they come with their pains, their physical pains, but they also come with their stories. They come with everything. And I always try to do my best to create a safe environment, both physical environment and this kind of like emotional and mental container for these people to feel safe, to feel held. So this is something that I do for money, that I do professionally every day. And it started long time ago. Actually, when I look back at my life, I feel that I was always like this. You know, when I was a child, I was always this friend that you could come to and share your problems about broken hearts and boyfriends, or, you know, your worries about your poor math grades or whatever. And I would be there for you. And probably that was one of the reasons why I chose psychology to study. So I have a master's in psychology, and I worked as a psychologist for some time in my life. And essentially, many aspects of, not many, like the essence, I feel, of working one-on-one with a client as a psychologist in a way that I worked in the Committee for the Protection of Children's Rights in Poland. And that was very often about holding space for people who were coming to me really often heartbroken or scared or feeling helpless and really not knowing what to do. And yes, they needed a real psychological and how do you call it, like a help from a psychologist and from a lawyer, for example. They needed very often diagnosis. But the first thing that they needed is that they wanted to be listened to without judgment and without interruption. And I will be talking about it more in a moment. So it started with my experiences, gathering my experiences in holding space. I feel it started as me being a psychologist. And then I also studied for, I don't remember, 2 or 3 years in NVC school, so the School for Nonviolent Communication. It's a way of communicating that, again, is a lot about holding space and making the other person, giving them a feeling that they are really heard, that the needs behind your words are heard. And then when I came to Iceland, I started something that was called a women's circle. And I held it for 3 years. And mind you that I use the word held it, because that's how I felt, that it was a group of women, an open group. So there was different women coming every month. And it felt like I was holding some sort of a safe container for all these women and for myself as well, to share stories and to heal each other through storytelling and through non-judgment presence. And I don't hold the circle anymore, though I really hope to start in the next month to start a circle of people here in Iceland, an open space for men and women to, again, create this container for healing through storytelling and healing through presence without judgment. But even though I don't hold a women's circle at this moment, I feel that I learned a lot about everything, a lot about life, a lot about myself, a lot about sisterhood, a lot about my stereotypes and all kinds of my personal stories around being a woman. But I also learned a lot about holding space, about what it means to really listen to somebody for the sake of listening this person, not for the sake of giving them advice or showing them that I know better. And again, I will talk about it more in a moment. But if you've never been in a circle of people, very often how it works is that people share stories, and the person who has something that is called a talking stick or a talking object, this person who holds this object can talk, and the other people do not interrupt. We just sit and listen. And then you can give this object, talking stick, talking object, to the next person, and the next person shares their story. So there is no commenting on your story, or there's no giving advice. It's just simply being present. And that was a super deep and beautiful lesson on holding space. And then finally, massage came to my life. That was something that it happened simultaneously in Iceland. Me holding women's circle, and then I started massaging, giving massages, and eventually teaching. And I feel that I took all these experiences since my early childhood through all my adulthood. I took all these experiences and I created a unique experience for people who come for a massage with me, because it is absolutely essential for me that I need to sit with my clients and I need to talk to them. Even if this conversation is going to be just for 5-10 minutes, I want to sit with you, I want to look you in the eyes, I want to connect to you, and I want to be present for you and to listen as deeply as I can. And I feel that only then I can massage you, because to me, massage, and we are talking about a holistic massage, so something that is deeply healing for your physical body, for your muscles, for the pains in your physical body, but it's also deeply healing for your soul, essentially. That this holistic massage is about space holding, and this is what is truly healing. And I heard it many times from my clients that this experience really is unique. I remember once a man came to me and we sat and we talked, and it was not a long talk. I just asked him a couple of questions, standard questions that I always ask before the massage. Then I explained to him a little bit about how the massage looks like, what he can expect, what sometimes can happen in the massage. I gave him all the standard information that I give to everybody who comes to my massage for the first time. And he told me that this was the longest and the most thorough talk that he ever had before the massage. And this talk was I don't know, maybe 7 minutes. But it gave us the feeling okay, we are in this together, and I want you to feel safe in this, and I want you to feel, I want you to know, and I want you to feel that I care about you. I care about you feeling comfortable and safe here with me, that it's not just about a lot of pressing and rubbing, but it's a deeper experience. So I feel that all these years of massaging and holding space for people really taught me a lot about what it means to be present for somebody, what it really means to hold space in practice. And then I started teaching, and this opened another door for what it means to hold space for my students, because Lomi trainings that I offer are deeply transformational experiences. And it's not just about teaching you a couple of massage techniques and a couple of massage strokes. The fact, I sometimes joke with my students that the fact that you learn how to massage is a little bit secondary almost. The most important thing is the process that you go through as the massage training goes on, and it's an intense process. And sometimes it's beautiful and uplifting and heart-opening and whatnot, and sometimes it's difficult and dark and full of tears and full of touching some really deep, dark, even traumatic parts of you. And I, as a teacher, am responsible for you in this process to some extent. I will be also talking about responsibility in holding space. But I feel that I am responsible for holding a container, a safe container for your transformation when you come to learn from me. It feels like a big responsibility, and I feel that holding people in massage trainings and witnessing these deep transformations, that it took my understanding of space holding to yet another level. And then there are, of course, all aspects of my private life, because what I mentioned before was mostly my professional life, but there are also all kinds of aspects of holding space in my private life. So holding myself in times of crisis, in times when I feel low, when I feel deeply sad, and how I do that. And I will be talking about a little bit about holding yourself in times of crisis. Then there is being present for my friends and holding my friends when they need me, and how I do this, and how I understand being a friend and what it means for me to be a friend, and how I hold space for my friends when they need me. And then there is allowing myself to be held by my friends. And I learned a lot about that, especially at the end of 2021, when I had really some sort of a breakdown, and I felt really, really, really low. And I felt that I was so helpless and weak that I was not even able to hold myself very often. And then it was about my friends or my family and how they held me. And one of my recent experiences is being held by my coach. So I'm in a process of transformational coaching. I have once a week sessions with my transformational coach, who is amazing, by the way. And these sessions, they also go deep, and I feel super safe, even though it's an online session, which to me in general is more difficult than meeting somebody in person. But I feel super safe, and I feel really held by him. And I feel that it gives me yet another level or layer of understanding what it means to hold space, how it works, and why it is so deeply healing, and why, in fact, this is all we need as humans. I feel that partly the reason why I'm so passionate, and I think you can feel and you can hear how passionate I am about this topic and how important it is for me, because I speak really fast and I want to tell you a lot. So part of the reason why I feel so passionate about it is that, to me, holding space is an essential part of living a touchful life. This kind of life when we as humans can show up for ourselves, and we can show up for each other in this radical compassion, in truth, in vulnerability, and we can witness each other not only in our best moments, but also in moments of despair, in moments of crisis, in moments of deep sadness. And the last episode was about creating the world that I want to live in, and being the change and birthing the new world. And I feel that this is it, that holding space for other people and being able to hold space for myself is me creating the world that I want to live in. Okay, so I want to take all my experiences, which I shared with you, experiences in holding space, or my observations, or my personal experiences, all my experiences as a space holder, and share with you my perspective about what helps and what doesn't help So it's kind of a list of do's and don'ts when you want to hold space for somebody, when you want to be deeply, honestly, radically present for somebody. And please, 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 don't take my words like gospel, but give them a chance. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to tell you the ultimate truth and like this is the only way you can do it, and if you do it other way then you are not holding space. No, it's not like this. But at the same time, I will share with you some deep thoughts and deep experiences. And I hope that you will maybe give them a try and maybe give them a chance. But remember that just never ever take anybody's words as gospel, especially when people tell you how to live your life. Just take what you hear and test it and try it and see how it works for you. So I don't want to tell you how to live your life, but I want to share with you my experience, and hopefully this will inspire you. You can take it and test it and see how it works for you. I'm so excited that I forget to breathe. So there are a few things that I feel that I had to learn, and I learned on the way of me being a space holder. And the first thing is listening without interruption. And it sounds trivial, but it really is an art. Especially for me, I love to talk. I always want to have the last word. I always want to share my view on the world. I always want to share my opinion because I think that they are just amazing. I love to talk. I mean, that's why I have a podcast, for one reason. But space holding is about, remember when I told you, taking the focus off yourself and putting it on other person. So it was a process of learning for me that, Magdalena, it doesn't matter right now what you want to say or what your opinion is. It really doesn't matter. Just let this person speak. And remember when I told you about the women's circle and that this person who had a talking stick and other people were not allowed to talk? That was a super good lesson in that. Because sometimes somebody was saying something that, it was just igniting something in me, and I wanted to say how I deeply agree or I deeply disagree. But the rule was that you just listen. And I learned a lot from that. So check with yourself next time when you talk to somebody. It doesn't even need to be about space holding, but simply when you talk to somebody, how easy or how difficult for you it is to listen, like really listen. So there is a difference, and I kind of have a feeling that it's quite easy to feel. There is a difference when you listen to listen, and when you listen and in your head you are already thinking about your reply, about what you want to say, and then you are actually not listening to this person with curiosity, but you just listen to give a punchline, to express your own opinion. So I feel that this art of true listening is a rare skill, and I sometimes have it, I sometimes don't. But I am committed to develop this skill because I feel that it is an essential skill for space holding. And a second thing is, when I already listen for the sake of listening, to put myself in the space of listening from the space of curiosity and ideally from the space of compassion. So this is this part that I already mentioned about being non-judgmental. And this is not so easy as well, because especially when I listen to somebody, whether it's my client or my student or my friend or my parents or my sister, and I listen to them and I have a feeling that I would do it differently. I would react differently. I don't agree with this person's choices. I don't agree with this person's opinions. Maybe it even goes against my beliefs or against my values in life. And this is a moment when listening becomes difficult sometimes. And this is the moment when, if my intention is to hold space for this person, to allow them to talk, because of course not every conversation is about that. Sometimes it's just a conversation and it can be a fiery one. But if my intention is to hold space for this person and to put the focus on them, I really need to consciously step back and for a moment try my best to create the space of curiosity and non-judgment. So in one of her books, Brené Brown, I am a Brené Brown psychofan. If you listen to this podcast, you already know about it. She said something, I don't remember the verbatim quote, but it was something about that one of the most courageous things to do when somebody says something that goes deeply against your beliefs, something that triggers you, something that fires you up, one of the most courageous things is to say, tell me more. I don't understand, I don't agree, but I want to understand. I want to know more. Tell me more. And I feel that this is a moment of deep healing again. When I take a step back and I am perfectly aware that maybe it triggers me, maybe I would do it differently, maybe I even have some judgment towards this person, like why did she do such a stupid thing? But I hold it for myself. I take a step back and instead, either with my words or with my heart, I express, tell me more. I want to know more. And then comes a big thing. Holding space for somebody, creating this safe container when people feel really seen and really taken as they are, means that you do not give advice or your personal opinion unless you are asked to. Let me repeat that. You do not give an advice or your personal opinion about the topic unless you are asked to. And that's a big thing. And I feel it a lot when I am in need of being held. That when I come to you, when I come to my friend with something that deeply shook me, I just really need somebody who will listen to me. I don't need you to tell me what to do. I don't need you to tell me your opinion unless you ask me and I say, yeah, please tell me your opinion. And again, I feel that this is art. Because we as people have this weird but common need to fix things. So when somebody comes to you and they share with you maybe some problem that they have at work with a colleague, then it is this natural need to give them advice. Or like, have you tried this? Have you tried this? Have you tried this? Or to share your opinion, like, I think that this person is this or this. Or to share your personal story, like, I had this situation and I did this, or I didn't do this. And my experience, again, when I need to be held, is that when somebody does that, when somebody gives me advice, I very often feel that I am not seen and I am not listened to. And I sometimes think to myself that I don't need your advice. I'm not stupid and I know what to do with my life. I don't need your advice. If I needed your advice, I would ask. So for example, me and my best friend, we have this, I want to say deal, but I wouldn't say it's an official deal between us, but we have this thing that if she comes to me and I feel that she shares something from the space of being just she needs to be witnessed, she needs to be listened to without judgment, then I sometimes just listen, I give her time, and then I sometimes ask, would you like to hear my opinion about it? Or would you like to hear what I would do in this situation? And sometimes she says yes, sometimes she says no. But I feel that there is something deeply respectful in this question. And I also really appreciate it when she does this towards me. When I come to her as my best friend to share something, and instead of immediately, I speak so fast today that I just forget to swallow. So instead of immediately jumping into her own conclusions or trying to fix me, I really appreciate it when she asks me, okay, do you want to know how I see it? Do you want to know what I see in this situation? And I very often say yes, because it's a super precious input to be able to see some situations through other people's eyes. But I respect it so much, and I'm so grateful that she asks. So I feel that this is a huge part of holding space for others. Not give advice unless you are asked to. Or if you want to give advice, ask if it is needed and be prepared that the person may say yes, but they also may say no. Another thing that I already mentioned is that holding space for people means that we approach them from this space of, I don't want to fix you, it is not my responsibility. And I feel that this is something I learned a lot by holding space for my clients. So I am here for you. I can listen to your story. I can give you space and a safe container and all my open heart and all my compassion, but God forbid, I will be not fixing this situation for you. I am not your psychotherapist. I am not your friend. Or even if I am, if this happens with a friend, that I feel, okay, I'm your friend, or maybe I'm your teacher or your massage therapist, but I am not somebody to fix you. It also comes from my general deep belief that people are not cars and they don't need fixing because they are not broken. But this was something that I had to develop, something that I had to learn, that, okay, when somebody comes to me and they share something, it doesn't mean that they put the responsibility on me to fix it. So I have this other friend, and very often he used to say something like, oh, I don't want to share this with you because I don't want to put burden on you. I don't want to feel that you are weighed down by this story. And that was always such a surprise for me that he would say something like this, because I'm like, this is your story. The fact that you share it with me doesn't mean that you put some kind of burden on me. This will be still your story. But maybe it will be easier for you to carry if you share it with somebody. It is your story. I'm not going to carry it for you, but I can be here for you if you want to share it. And in a way, it is a subtle difference, but it's a huge difference. So I hope that you know what I mean. Another thing to learn when you hold space for others is to learn to be present with people's strong emotions without sinking into these emotions. So, for example, when somebody cries and when somebody is sad or just really heartbroken, devastated, there is a difference between feeling the same thing because the person feels sad, so I suddenly start to be sad and then it's not space holding anymore, versus feeling compassionate and open-hearted. And it is difficult. I feel that it might be difficult to be present with people's strong emotions, again, without trying to fix it, without trying to end it. It happens quite often on my massages that people cry. It's not like an everyday thing, but it happens every now and then. And it's something that I had to learn, that when it's during the massage and they have a moment of deep release and they start to cry, I don't need to stop the massage. I don't need to try to calm them down or to soothe them. In fact, I just continue. So they feel that they can cry if they want to, and I'm just going to be there for them and continue. And it's also something that I deeply appreciate when I receive a massage and I become emotional. that the giver doesn't suddenly stop the massage and try to, calm me down, but they just lovingly continue. Sometimes maybe they give me a tissue or they ask me if I need a sip of water or something, but they in general just lovingly continue, because when people cry, it means that there are tears that need to be cried, and tears are one of the best and one of my favorite ways to release tensions. This is really one of the fastest ways for me, in my opinion, to feel better, to really release deep tensions through crying. So when you cry in front of me, I don't want to interrupt you. I don't want to feel the need to make you stop crying just because it might feel uncomfortable for me. Holding space, again, means that I take a step back, and I don't want to make you stop crying just because I feel uncomfortable. I'd rather want to give you a safe space where you can cry as long as you need to. And I will be there. I will maybe holding your hand. I will maybe hug you. I will maybe give you a tissue. But I will not, or I will do my best not to give you the feeling that you need to stop crying because I feel uncomfortable. And finally, space holding also means sometimes being silent. When there are no words, then there are no words. Sometimes people share things that really leave me wordless. Sometimes people say something and I feel that I have really something compassionate and inspiring and encouraging to say. And then we end up in having these beautiful heart-to-heart conversations. But sometimes, really, there are no words. Like the other day, when the war in Ukraine started, and my client from Ukraine, he wrote me that he's very sorry, but he needed to cancel the massage because he was in such a deep emotional and physical distress that he was unable to come. And I could feel a glimpse of his pain and terror and fear and stress and everything. And I had a feeling that there are really no words, that I want to say something smart, but I don't know what to say in a face of such tragedy. So I ended up saying just simply something that, of course, that I understand, and I want you to know that I am here for you if you need anything, and I am so sorry about what happened. And sometimes these are the only words that I am able to say. And sometimes when somebody shares a story with me, whether it's my friend or a client or a student, sometimes there are really no words. And then there can be silence. It is healing. Do you know this good feeling when you can be in silence with a person and you feel comfortable? It's this kind of silence that I'm talking about. Or sometimes the only words that I'm able to say, and I very often share these words with my best friend again, that I sometimes tell her, like, I say literally that I don't know what to say. I feel that I would like to be smart, but I really don't know what to say. But I want you to know that I am at your side. I am with you. And again, we come back to this, what I already said, that we don't need advice. We don't need smart words. We don't need other people to tell us what to do. We just need more moments where we can just acknowledge that it is what it is. Let's not immediately jump into trying to fix it. Let's just give it a moment to be what it is. And that's art, and that's heart, and that's deeply, deeply healing. And I need to take a break right now. There is still something that I want to share with you. I want to talk about holding space for yourself. So I wanted to start with holding space for others, and then I will share with you a little bit of ideas of how to be present for yourself. but my massage starts in a moment. So I'm pausing here and I will be back with you. And welcome back. I'm bending the time. It's been a few seconds for you and a whole day for me. But I'm back to finish what I started yesterday, talking about holding space for others, which I've been talking about so far. And now I want to talk about holding space for yourself and what it means and how to do it. And I started with others and how to be emotionally and physically and mentally available for others and how to help them simply by being present, because I have a feeling that it's easier to do it for others. It is definitely easier for me to be available for others, to be compassionate, to be radically present with other people. It might be because I do it professionally, or it might be because it simply is easier to do it to other people than to ourselves. And at the same time, I have a feeling that everything starts with ourselves. And it matters how we are present with ourselves and how much capacity we have to hold ourselves lovingly when you are just with yourself. So let's talk about that for a moment. Let me remind you what it means to hold space, but now in the context of doing it for yourself. So it means being physically, mentally, and emotionally present for yourself. And it means staying judgment-free, so not judging yourself. And it means putting all your focus on yourself instead of running away from you or numbing yourself or doing everything to distract yourself from you. And it means creating an environment that makes you safe to be vulnerable, that makes you safe to experience this meeting with yourself. And I don't know how it sounds for you, but for me it sounds difficult. And I know that it's something that really, at least in my case, it's something that really needs practice. And I have a feeling that there is this one word which is the key when I said creating an environment that makes you safe to be vulnerable. And the word vulnerable is the key to understanding holding space in general. When we do it for other people, we want to create a space for them when they feel safe to be vulnerable, to show their emotions, to fall apart sometimes because they feel that we are there for them. So when you hold space for yourself, vulnerable is also the key. You feel all kinds of emotions happening for yourself. You feel vulnerable and you sit with it. You don't run away. You don't coat it. You don't pretend that it's different than it is. You sit with it. And at the same time, you are able to sit with it with compassion, just like you would be doing it for your best friend. And when I was thinking of examples of holding space for yourself, I remembered the Facebook post that I saw yesterday from my friend. So every year on his father's birthday, he writes a short post on Facebook. His father passed away a couple of years ago, and each year he honors his father's birthday by sharing a short post. And these are very beautiful, emotional posts in which he is able to express how much he misses him and how it is unfair that his father cannot be with him, or that he cannot be with and for his father, and how much he loves him. And this is not exactly in these words, but that's the message behind it. And I saw it yesterday because that was this day of the year, and each year I see it, it really touches my heart how my friend is actually holding space for himself, for expressing the love and gratitude for his father, and also all the other feelings, like how unfair it is and how he misses him, and all kinds of feelings bubbling in him. And he chooses this simple way to honor this part of himself that he probably feels more on his father's birthday, to honor it in such way. And to me, it is an example of creating space for yourself to express what you feel, because it is important to you. So let's start with judgment-free, maybe, because that's a tricky one. I feel that this is really a tricky one. It is somehow easier for me to be judgment-free when I hold space for others than to be judgment-free when I sit with my own emotional states, with my own experiences. So what I try to do, or what I do when I hold space for myself, is a couple of things. First of all, I need to remember, I choose to remember that I am doing my best at this very moment. Even if this doing very best is really shit, then I choose to remember that I am doing my best in this very moment. And it's something that I keep repeating in this episode or in this podcast over and over again in all the episodes, that I believe that I do my best. I believe that you do your best. Another thing that I feel that helps me is that I want to speak to myself like I would speak to my best friend. And maybe it's an advice that you heard somewhere. I definitely read it a couple of times ago in different places. And this advice sounds a little bit cliche or kind of like shallow almost when you read about it or when you hear it. But when you actually try to apply it, it surprisingly works. It really works. Because sometimes I say such horrible things to myself. And then I'm like, Magdalena, but really? Would you say it to your best friend? Your physical best friend? If she came to you and she shared how she feels about this situation, would you told her just like, oh, shut up and stop whining and get yourself together, and this is really not a big deal, and just why you always have to be yourself and just behave so stupidly? Or would you rather hold space for her? And that helps. That helps me to remember that I want to treat myself like I treat my best friend. Or, speaking of my best friend, she has a daughter. And sometimes I use it a little bit, air quote, against her. When she says something really hurting about herself, I'm like, but would you say it to your daughter? If she came to you, if she comes to you one day with such a problem, would you say such words to her? And then my friend is like, no, of course not, I wouldn't. So if you wouldn't say it to your best friend, if you wouldn't say it to your daughter, if you wouldn't say these words to people who are dearest to you in this whole world, then please just don't say these words to yourself. Practice this. In my case, it really requires practice, but it pays off. Another thing that helps me to hold space for myself is to, first of all, create this environment, this physical space. So I very often switch off my phone, and I switch it off completely. I do not silence it. I do not put it on flight mode. I switch it off completely. And I started to do it recently, and it makes a difference. If I want to be just for myself, just with myself, doesn't matter if I am in a process of holding myself in something or if I just want to be with myself for fun, it makes a difference if I switch my phone off completely. And it turns out that it makes sense. It also makes a neurological sense when your phone is completely switched off. Because when it is turned on, there is this part of your brain that is constantly alert that somebody might send a message to you, or something might happen, some news might come and you will miss it. Versus when you switch it off completely, this part of your brain sort of also switches off. So test that. If you want to be truly, deeply, honestly, just with yourself, turn your phone off, even if it's just for half an hour. Really, the world is not going to end for that half an hour, I promise it to you. So I turn off my phone and I appreciate silence. I sometimes like to listen to music that helps me, that holds me. I have this whole playlist on Spotify that is called, I don't remember, but it's something like songs that soothe the heart or something like this, I called it. And it's a playlist that's in an ongoing process of making, and I add there songs that really help me to be with myself and with my heart. But sometimes I really choose silence, and then I just sit. I wouldn't even call it meditation. It's just sitting and being with myself. Just like I sit with other people when I hold space for them. It's nothing special. I just sit. And I am there for you when you need me. Sometimes I hold your hand. Sometimes we hug if this is what it's needed. And sometimes we just sit. And sometimes we talk. So what I do for myself is I sit. I sometimes talk to myself, don't know that much. But I sometimes journal. It's also not, it's not my regular practice. I know that there are people who journal regularly and they're almost their daily practice. And if you're one of these people, I think it's really brilliant, because this moment of journaling is holding space for yourself. It's just you and your journal, and you hold space for your thoughts, for your emotions. You can write them down. It's a beautiful practice to do daily, which I don't do daily, but every now and then, especially when I feel that there is so much going on in me, I journal. I take my notebook, I take a pen, and I just write it down as if I was sharing it with somebody. And I feel that it helps me. It helps me also if I just simply name how I feel, what I feel in this very moment. And sometimes I am able to really name these feelings, that it's loneliness, or sadness, or fear, or jealousy, or doubt, or all kinds of other things and emotional states. But sometimes I am beyond that place of naming, and all I can say is that I feel like shit. Like at this moment, I feel helpless, I feel like shit. I don't know what to do, and I don't want to be myself because it feels hard to be myself. And believe it or not, but just naming it, it's acknowledging it. It's naming what is. And since everything is what it is what it is, always. And sometimes what is just shit. But naming it means owning it, means honoring it, and means opening door for change. At least that's how it feels for me. I keep repeating that's how it works for me, that's how it feels for me, because I don't want to give you a feeling that you should do it the same way. Like I told you yesterday, and for you it was half an hour ago, if you listen to this episode in one sitting, I told you don't take my words as gospel. Just try it out, test it out. It might work for you, it might not. That's how it works for me. That's what helps me. And finally, sometimes being with yourself, being lovingly with yourself, putting your focus on yourself, and being vulnerable, so holding space for yourself, sometimes it actually means calling somebody, contacting somebody and telling them, I feel like shit, I need help, please help me, I don't know what to do. And this is an act of great courage, great self-love, and great self-compassion. And again, I know how difficult it is for me when I feel really low to pick up that phone and to call my best friend and to tell her that I feel really bad. I don't know what to do. I don't expect you to tell me what to do. I don't expect anything. I just don't want to be alone in this very moment. Can you talk to me for a moment? And it helps. And when I have doubts if I should do this or maybe I should not put all this weight on my friend and da 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 da, then I remember all these moments when my best friend does the same thing. When she calls me and, crying and sobbing and not making much sense, but she calls me because she feels that she doesn't want to be alone in this very moment. And each time she does that, I am so grateful. And I always tell her that, thank you for calling me. Thank you that you did it. And I'm here for you. And the other day, I literally told her, I will be at your place in 15 minutes. It's not something that we always can do. It's not something that I always have a physical space to do, not to mention that sometimes I talk to people who are thousands of miles away. But at that moment, I could do that. And I know that it was important for her. I know because it's literally something that she did for me some time ago. When I called her, because I was really almost in some kind of a panic state, and I really didn't know what to do. And I didn't expect her to come, but I just called her shaking because I was scared. And she just told me, okay, I will be there in a moment. And that felt like the greatest act of love. So sometimes holding space for yourself means calling somebody, writing a message to somebody, asking them to just talk to you. And if these are people who are not very familiar with the idea of holding space, you can literally tell them that I don't need your advice. I don't need you to tell me smart things. I don't know what I need, but please can you just talk to me for a moment? Or can I just talk to you for a moment? And I can assure you that if these are people who love you, who like you, who care about you, they will be there for you in their own way, in the truth of their own heart. And I feel that's it. I feel that's all I wanted to share with you today and yesterday for me about holding space for others and for yourself, and how radically healing and life-changing and world-changing this practice can be. Imagine that we live in a world where people do this for each other. They show up for each other with care, with open heart, with vulnerability, without judgment, without throwing advice at each other, and without trying to be smarter than we are, but just allowing everything to be what it is. And imagine that we show up like this for each other and for ourselves. What a world it would be. Can you imagine it? Can you picture this in your head, in your heart? And if you can, then start living it. Start showing up for yourself first and for others in such way, holding space for you and holding space for others. And I thank you very much for listening to this lengthy episode. I mean, for me, I was recording it over 2 days, which was, again, an experiment and a fun thing to do. Because, creating a podcast is a work. It takes a lot of time, actually, surprisingly a lot of time. So sometimes I am like, I have this episode, I want to say something, but I feel that I don't have time, or I don't want to use my time for this right now. So doing this episode over 2 days, it was also a fun experiment, and it showed me that, yeah, I can totally do it like this. I can just record it here and there, bits and pieces, And then I will listen to it when I will be editing it, and I will see if it makes sense to do it like this over 2 days. But for now, that's all. That's all I wanted to say. Even though I know how it's going to be, because when I listen to every episode, each and every episode that I recorded, it's the same story. I listen to it and then I have a feeling, oh, I didn't say this and I didn't say that. And oh, I forgot to mention this. And like, oh, that would be a very good example and I forgot to say it. But it is what it is. And I believe that I did my best and I shared with you everything that needed to be shared in this episode. So thank you for listening. Thank you for you. If you want to send me a message sharing your experiences of holding space for others or holding space for yourself, then please do. You have my email in the description of this episode. If you want to share this episode with somebody, because you have a feeling that somebody should listen to it, please send them a link or share it on your social media or in any way that feels right to you. But please, please, please share it if you feel that it's worth it. It means a lot to me. Thank you for you. Thank you so much. Aloha, and I will talk to you next time. Bye-bye. P.S. Recorded 3 hours later because I forgot to tell you one thing. If you're a massage professional, if you're a massage therapist, massage practitioner, body worker, if you work with people professionally, with clients, and you would like to learn more about holding space for your clients, then I have a whole almost 3-hour masterclass about that topic. I'm going to leave you the link to my shop in the description of this episode, and you are very welcome to go and check that masterclass. Thank you for you, aloha, and until next time, bye-bye.